When Pastor Chuan and his wife Pan go to their neighborhood Chinese restaurant, they get more than a good meal. They find friends and a place where they can talk about Jesus. Pastor Yu and his family arrived in Japan in 2006 as part of Global Mission's Pioneer Mission movement. Originally from Taiwan, they were sent to Tokyo as missionaries to share Jesus' love with people in Japan's largest city. When they arrived, they found a growing Chinese population. Some 120,000 Chinese people mingle with the crowds on the streets of Tokyo. That's nearly 1/3 of Japan's Chinese population. When Pastor Yu and his family visited the Chinese restaurant near their home, they started talking with the owners. Mr. and Mrs. An had moved to Japan from the People's Republic of China. Back in China, less than 3% of the 1.3 billion people are Christians. After their second visit to the restaurant, Pastor and Mrs. Yu invited their new friends to visit their church. Soon, Pastor Yu started studying the Bible with Mr. and Mrs. An, often meeting with them in their restaurant. Then in December of last year, Mrs. An had to go away. She was gone for 3 months. While she was gone, Mrs. Yu noticed Mr. An struggling to run the restaurant by himself. So she started going to the restaurant to lend a helping hand. She helped prepare food, waited on tables, and washed plenty of dishes. Over time, the Yu's friendship and the Bible studies have touched Mrs. An's heart. Today, she's attending the Chinese church with Pastor and Mrs. Yu. She's still studying the Bible and wants to be baptized. Mr. An stays behind to keep the restaurant open, but he's still studying the Bible. Recently, Mr. and Mrs. An dedicated their young son, Tun Fan, to Jesus. Please pray for Pastor and Mrs. Yu as they work to share Jesus' love with people in Japan's largest city. And please pray for the An family and those like them who, for the first time, are learning about a God who loves them. Thank you for supporting Global Mission and the mission offerings that make mission possible.